And with that, we can commence our live stream. How's that for a smooth transition, huh? Dear, I'm starting to get used to this live streaming thing now, about time too. Wow. 3 weeks of remote learning, or remote teaching from my side. I think I'm getting the hang of it. A lot of it is kind of just doing what I normally do, but online. There's a lot more work involved, of course, and it's been a lot of unique stresses. So, one of the things I've been doing is basically we're supposed to mark the role at the beginning of every lesson. And it's hard to sometimes take yourself away from different personas. I'm used to streaming online, so the idea of just starting as soon as possible to save time is there. But then, as a archery streamer, I'm kind of like clawing the roll out. I'm trying to look at the names, thinking who's here, and I went, hang on a moment, no, I'm not teaching right now. So the line's kind of blurred. It's been quite challenging, quite difficult. I'm making it work. I think I'm doing quite a good job of it. I'm not sure what everyone else is doing, but I think we're doing quite well. So, as for everybody else, though, we hear enough to learn about my schooling days and my teaching job, but to hear about our archery side. So we've got a very large lineup of people today. I've got at least 10 submissions. I think that's a record so far. I think last time was like 7, and now I've got 10. So we're going to fly through quite a few. Some of these are quite short, thankfully, but I've got a few returning learners who are wanting to share in their videos. So, we, in corporeal, to be honest, I wake up like 2 minutes before class and I run the class. So, I mean, as long as the cameras are off, no one knows. Yeah, as long as the work's done, no one cares. And that's what the way it should be. So, we've got quite a few things today, so let's get straight into it. I know if you've sent me a video, just say so in chat. I know Gizmono, you know you're here. Jared is here, yes, finally. Those who haven't been following, Rogue Archery TV is Jared. He was our guest in the live stream last week, and by the way, we are lining up another guest this month, hopefully very soon. I can't reveal who it is, yet to be confirmed, but his name starts with J and A. Kaminsky. So hopefully that will happen this month. We'll make it happen. He's been in the live streams as well previously as a commentator, but happy to have you on board, Jared. So I thought, unfortunately today, I think we've got a lot of absolute beginners shooting Asiatic rather than shooting Olympic recurve. But maybe we'll see quite a few things today which we'll all learn from. So, welcome to everybody. For those who don't normally watch this, this is our normal live stream where we look at people sending in videos of their form and getting feedback, and that way we learn from each other and we make ourselves better archers. So, I'm curious, Finn, what on earth is your school doing? Because as a teacher, I'm so isolated. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what my colleagues are doing, no idea what my students are doing. Apparently, I'm kicking ass, and I'm the best teacher at the moment, but everyone says that, so I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm actually doing pretty well. But I'm not sure what other schools are doing, so I'm curious what your experiences are as a remote learner. Anyway, so let's go through a few. I know Gizmono is first, but I've got Gabriel here. He sent me something on Facebook, so I'm going to get that out of the way and done with first. We'll go to Gizmono. Then I think as people come in chat, I reckon they're watching out for their own video. So we'll see how we go. We'll just fly through it. So our first one, we'll go through Gabriel. Now, he's been on the stream quite a few times. He's been quite happy following us and watching some of the gaming live streams and the archery live streams. And he sent in another video. Now, backstory, he's been shooting a 40-pound horsebow. Injury happened, so there's been a bit of recovery from there. Ryan, I've got yours as well, thank you. I'll go through yours in a moment. So let's go through Gabriel's. Let's just get the full screen up and running. It's just high quality. Let's go HD, why not, right? I'm streaming 60 FPS, I might as well make it worthwhile. Let's have a look. Let's flip over our screen, see if this works. Yes, it does. Beautiful. Why is my Firefox icon still? That doesn't matter. Okay. Let's watch. Okay, let's observe. This is our horsebow. Not sure what style you're shooting. It's been a while. Close that. Let's enjoy. Sit back, observe our good friend doing his bit. Oh, that's a nice release there. Using a thumb draw, of course. I'm not used to having a camera facing you. We normally see the rear view. It's a nice, good draw. Interesting position. You seem to have a bit of a Kudor style position. And of course, remember you're injured as well, so I think you're working around that. So the draw's actually pretty good. It comes nice and straight back in. Your release is nice from this angle. Not bad. The hard thing is from this particular angle, it's really hard to diagnose anything because you just see like a straight line here. You can see elbow alignment definitely. But that's a pretty good, yeah, behind the head there. That's a nice release. So I'm going to skip ahead for a bit here. Yes, there you go. Now this is the angle we wanted. Seems like you're handling the draw much better. I remember the last time you were injured, you were having a hard time with this. And that happens a lot. I'm curious what's going on here with this this particular step. So now that we see a bit more close up there, what I'm curious about is a staggered draw. So we start from there, we go there. I'm curious about this particular style there. That happens, drops off, right? It's fine. Yeah, I'm curious about how that works. Not something you don't normally see that in Asiatic shooting. I'm working around the injury that I know you have, so that's why I'm not commenting so strongly right away. So there are things you've probably adopted which will work well for you, given your circumstances. This is an interesting first video. Here we go. Now, I'm curious where that comes from. I'm not over familiar with every Asiatic style. I'm curious if that staggered draw has historical precedence. Or whether that's you. Alright, so let's observe the last shot here. I think this is the most representative shot. So there are lots of things here which look good. Okay, let's stop here. Let's keep going. Alright. See, this one I didn't think was... I think... Hang on, wait. There's one I liked. Because what I'm looking out for at the moment is the position of front shoulder. Because a good position... That's your last shot. See, if I freeze frame it, it looks pretty good. This is a nice lower shoulder. The leans happen, which is quite normal for Asiatic archery. It gets you in a good combat position. This is kind of battle style. The thumb draws nice hook here. So this is looking quite good. So it's a still frame. This looks very nice. What I'm concerned about is how you get there. So we see it in motion. This is why we always look at form checks as video rather than as a static picture. I find the staggered draw to be, I'm not sure whether it's your injury or whether it's a method you use, but I find that this is not the most stable position you have at the moment. You're not shooting badly. I think you're doing quite well actually in terms of structure, alignment, draw. I think you're stretching out quite nicely, but it's taking a bit of effort to do so. And I feel that if we can manage to get this done in one motion, I think you have a much easier time. Okay, I think you're working around certain limitations, but you might find it easier to have a single draw, a bit of movement there too. And what that last thing there is that shoulder shuffle, I think, is not something you would really need to do. So maybe a draw weight issue, maybe a technique issue, maybe an injury issue. Not sure exactly what the cause is. interesting. It is interesting. I think you're doing quite well there overall. But my feedback might be just very briefly. I think you're doing well in recovering from injury, but I also feel perhaps that that draw could be stabilized a little more. I think technique-wise, it's not too bad, but it looks a little rough around the edges. So, what do you think, chat? I have chat on low latency right now, so that way more people can have a go at pitching in. Yeah, Craig sent like a lot of videos. What Finn? People sending word searches? What the hell? Don't you pay like 10 grand for your score? I'm kidding. No, you won't. What are we doing here? Um, yeah, that's about right. Are you doing setup, Gabriel? Like setup is in KSL setup? That's interesting. Oh yeah, definitely. I agree, Gizmodo. It's great to see more people do thumb draw videos. You know, because there isn't really a service if people do this, right? No, Armin does it one on one, but not many people do this sort of thing for non-Olympic style. Even Olympic style, not people do this in the first place. Um, yeah, if you're doing KSL setup style, that's interesting. You can definitely do so with Asiatic thumb shooting. You can definitely do so. The draw step isn't that unlike KSL. And in fact, Kisik Lee was, I believe, heavily inspired by traditional Korean archery. So it's not unusual to do so. Yeah, the principles there. Okay, if we're gonna talk about the principle of setup with a thumb draw, let me figure out. I need a bow. I should get that. You know, this will be fine. Okay, I'll just use the standard bow which I've got here. Um, yeah, I'm on this 101. This is for the masses. All right, let me try and figure this out for everyone doing this. So if I normally, let's see. All right, so normally, let's do it this way. This way, close enough. Okay, so normally with KSL, what you would do is you have your set position and then you put your shoulders in. So it's already quite large in, right? So you don't go draw here and then here. What you want to do is make sure the gun barrel, your shoulders are in line already. So with normal KSL, at set position, shoulders in, and then draw, and then anchor. So that the big part is getting your shoulder alignment in. Now with thumb draw, I don't see why not. Okay, so normally thumb draw kind of like that, straight in. So if I thumb draw with KSL or with the shoulder alignment first, then sure, why not? So in and then like that. It's a little different just because the reason why I find it uncomfortable with KSL, apart from looking weird, you don't learn KSL like this. But the reason why I find it weird is because a lot of Asiatic relies on front arm movement pushing forward. So it's much about pulling it back as much as you are pushing forward and punching forward. I find the traditional analogies of pushing forward or punching forward make more sense to me than KSL. The principle's still the same though, but I find that with Asiatic, the motion like this and shooting instinctively make a bit more sense to me. Whereas with KSL, you're kind of working more on structure. You have to go like that, and then that, and then that. I don't know. I get why people do it. And I'm a very, very big proponent of structured steps. But I feel kind of weird encouraging this with traditional Asiatic archery. It just feels a little weird doing so because it's like a different set of steps. It's the same foundation. It's very important the style and foundation the same, but including a setup position like that, I find it's not something most Asiatic shooters do. If it helps, I don't discourage it, but it does look awkward. And it may be because you're not exactly getting your shoulder alignment right. I think you're going through the steps are there. So in the back of your mind, you're going set up, and then load and anchor. But you're not quite executing it because I know with most people, and Jared mentioned this last time in our live stream, was that like people walk through steps. I mean, they have the book knowledge. They have the the theory knowledge, but putting in practice is quite hard. Even if you use KSL straight, like you shoot Olympic style, and then you've read KSL and you apply it, it's quite hard to do so without a coach because you need someone to show you and walk you through what the steps are. In fact, I was just in a conference with the KSL coaches, and we mentioned similar sort of thing. You have to be able to articulate and have someone model how it works for you to make sense of it. I feel that your approach to it isn't wrong, but I don't feel you have a complete understanding of what each step will include. And I think the big one for you is not just getting the shoulder alignment correct, but also understanding how it applies specifically to Asiatic archery. So those are the barriers which are present for you. They're definitely easy to overcome, but you just need to know what is good alignment or correct alignment for you, and how you can weave in a more procedural step-by-step shot process. So that's probably where it comes from. Good question, Jared. From shooting multiple archery disciplines, what have you learned that translates well across disciplines? Back tension. Shoulder alignment and back tension. I've said before, like, with every style, like 80% of archery technique is the same. All right, there are minor differences which people blow out of proportion. Things like, oh, thumb draw is completely different. No, that's not that different. Use a thumb draw instead of using a finger draw. But anyone who studied Asiatic archery, I think like Justin Ma, Mihai Cosme is a good example too. When they teach, when they lecture and they teach their styles, whether it's Chinese archery or whatever Cosme hybrids mingles together, they always reference Olympic archery. Why? Because Olympic archery has codified the study and biomechanics of archery better than any other textual source. So modern archery is able to use sports science to explain what traditional texts say. And the alignment is always the same. The elbow position is always the same. The process is always the same. There's no real active aiming. It's more of a process involved. It's more intention rather than aiming. The release is always natural. The follow through is always natural. So if you learn a structured method, you can easily, not so easily, but you can definitely apply it across to a different style. And I think that's why it's interesting that Gabriel is trying to apply a KSL shot process or a part of a setup process, a formal process within traditional archery. Traditional archery, if you learn this, it's kind of taught a little differently. Whereas, it's if you modernize the process, there's no reason why you can't shoot successfully. It just looks a little rigid. But most people who learn a step-by-step process, whether KSL or literally any other shot process, the steps will always be rigid to begin with, and part of becoming proficient and confident is of course to iron out these transitions, and that will be the sweet spot. So keep it up, Gabriel. I'm curious to see if you proceed with this. I personally don't think it's necessary. The trad shooter in me thinks this is a bit, it's kind of putting a layer on top of something you should master this first before you try to introduce a modern shot process into trad form. Because I switch off my modern form when I shoot thumb draw. I learn different streams, so I will flip to my trad thumb draw shooting when shooting thumb draw. I don't really think about it that way. But if you are comfortable with that and you can make it work smoothly, go for it. Jeff, question. Yes. So for Asiatic archery, the arrow is normally on the right side for a right-handed shooter. The exception is with Mongolian archery. So Mongolian archery these days, the traditional Nadam games, which you often see, actually have them shooting on the left side. So this is an interesting little twist. There are multiple reasons as far as I understand. One reason is that the art of Mongolian archery has largely been forgotten by the population. This is mostly due to the government regimes, the sterilization of culture. So the art of traditional Mongolian archery has mostly been lost. So when it came to revitalizing Mongolian archery, one of the theories is that they incorporate a more modern element. So one of that is shooting the arrow on the left side for target shooting, and using basically string walking, so to hold the string much lower down. Again, very similar to bare bow string walking, which is quite interesting. But for basically every other style, which isn't modern Mongolian, arrow always goes on the right. There is no exception. That's interesting. And that's mostly because the thumb draw, the way the thumb draw works is that the arrow is kept on by the index finger. So when you get the string, I have no arrow with me right now, or do I? I guess I could demonstrate with this. Legit. Okay. All right. That works. All right. And the reason why, is with the thumb draw, the thumb locks here. This shouldn't work, but it does, right? The thumb locks here, and the index finger presses that way. Whereas if you have the arrow on the other side, if you hold it the traditional method, the index finger, will just knock it off. All right. So with the Mongolian style today, they hold it much further down, so it's not like string walking. So yeah, but that's normally an Asiatic thing. Good question though. So keep it up. And back to Jared. Do different shooting style have different mental approaches? Kudo is different because Kudo is an archery. Oh, sorry, lost my subscribers there. No, Kudo is an archery. Kudo is meditation. It's more process and spirituality. So Kudo is a meditative practice. Once you go towards practical archery or shooting with the goal of actually hitting a target, then the processes actually align quite well. When I was talking with Ahmed from Maidan Archery, we had some very, very, very strong revelations. And one of it is how the traditional Turkish shot process has strong parallels with, let's say, KSL shot process. I can't actually remember all the steps in the Turkish process. There's stance, there's hook, there's draw, there's intention, which is aiming, and then there's release. And all these, when you learn the 5 steps, the 5 pillars of traditional archery, we actually had a bit of a diagram moment where we kind of connected things together. So, and even the conceptualization of how to release actually is very, very similar. So, I think when I was training some of the Maidan archers using a modern shot method, it just translated nearly perfectly. One of the things that we came across was that in KSL in the modern shot cycle, we introduce a hold time. So we have holding. So we have at least 3 seconds where we get the full draw, and then we focus, we expand, and then we release, and then we follow through. So when we do that, that actually coincides with the amount of time it takes to pray in Islam. There's a particular prayer, and that actually ties in with how fast you kneel and you stand up. So it's about 3 seconds when we say the prayer. So when a Muslim kneels and a Muslim stands, they say a prayer in their head. They say a prayer, and it takes about 3 seconds to say it, which is about the same amount of time it takes to reach holding, expand, and release. So there are actually many parallels between traditional cultural archery and modern archery. Modern archery codifies it in a more specific scientific manner, but the traditional ways of archery are taught using a way, whether it's a prayer, whether it's a chant, whether it's a mental process, which actually breaks down the process and teaches it in a way which is suitable for the context it comes from. Obviously, 14th century Saracens would not be using sports science to codify how to reach optimal alignment, but they will explain things like where the elbow goes, where the angle point should be, and how long it takes for a shot process. So that's an incredibly good question, by the way. I hope that answers that question too, because there are so many parallels. Yes, by the way, yeah. When Coach Lee said the same thing. We can't when we talk about eye dominance or motor skills or hand dominance, we always go for hand dominance. Because archery isn't an aiming sport, it's a process sport. So we talked about like with rifle shooting, it's more aiming. There is a process with shooting rifle, but rifle is mostly an aiming sport, so you need to work with dominant eye. Whereas with archery, it doesn't matter what eye is dominant. You can shoot reverse eye, like you can shoot with the other eye. But what the key is that you have your motor skills correct. So if you're shooting strong eye but weak motor skills, you're not going to attain the same consistency as having strong motor skills. That's a theory he's exploring. He's been pushing a lot with these seminars as well. Why do archers always do string walking and bare bow? The reason why is string walking is the most consistent method of bare bow shooting. Because string walking is basically using a sight. Okay, so with bare bow shooting, you're basically estimating where the arrow should be. Okay, so that's the thing. So there's always going to be a large amount of ambiguity over exactly what the gap is, because visually you don't have like a measuring tape next to your eye. It goes, all right, that's about 3 inches down. All right, so you're basically going, the arrow should be somewhere here. Arrow. Okay, it's like the arrow is somewhere there. From my point of view, your point of view, it's like you're going, okay, you're aiming over there. You're like, okay, is it there? Is it there? It's always going to be a very large amount of variation with gap. And especially with gap, it's hard to measure on target, because if you're shooting a fixed target, you can say, all right, my arrow is bottom of the frame, or my arrow is in the goal at 6 o'clock. Whereas with string walking, it's a lot more exact. You actually measure how far down. In fact, you have devices or finger tabs. Why do I? Here we go. That's not a finger tab. That's not a finger tab. I just grabbed the first thing I saw here. So you have like finger tabs with like stitches or markings where you can say, all right, I'm going to move this far down from the nock to shoot 36 meters. So it's much more precise. In fact, a good string walker, by the way, this tab comes from Archer's Workshop in Sydney. I haven't really done a lot of shout out for them, but I have this around a lot. But with a tab like this, alright, you can much more precisely measure where your aim point should be. And in fact, a good string walker should be able to go toe to toe with a sighted shooter at close distances. It gets a little more difficult at longer ranges, past 50 meters, because again, there's no sights, the calibration isn't correct, and plus you are shooting a bow which is basically untuned, because it's kind of out of sync, because you're shooting off center. It's not the way a bow is meant to function, but it's a method that's used by target shooters without using sights, which is effectively a sight. It's kind of like the most bastardized version of aiming, really. Gap shooting is more natural, it's closest to instinctive. String walking is like the bastard child of Olympic modern shooting and and gap shooting and instinctive, which is kind of funny. And people say, like, I remember when when World Archery announced bare bow coming out, people saying, yeah, this is the original archery. Actually, no, modern bare bow is very much not original archery. That's archers didn't shoot with string walking much back then. 3 under perhaps, but string walking is kind of a concept which only really works with modern bows, which are much faster and consistent. Whereas with older bows, it's actually quite dangerous to the bow. It's stressed in the wrong areas, quite uneven, a little weird. Can you string walk a 62-inch bow? You can. Like I just said though, a lot of the bows which are 62 inches aren't designed to be shot with uneven tiller like that, because remember you're pulling down. It wouldn't damage the string, but it might stress the limbs a bit unevenly. All right, let's get back to our form check. So that was Gabriel. Sorry for that. I hope you enjoyed that. Moana is here. I've got this preloaded actually, so let's load this up. Now, speaking of which, this is Asiatic, but not exactly a thumb draw. I think we had a bit of a surprise for us here. So last time Gizmodo was here, we shot thumb draw, had some nice top-down views. Now we have the Mediterranean draw. Oh, nice. What I find interesting in watching this is like you're basically incorporating your Asiatic thumb draw style within your Mediterranean. So your actual shot process is more or less the same. It's a different grip, but it's basically the same technique. The reason why I say this is it's the same. That's a nice muscle back tension right there. It's the same process you normally have, but with a Mediterranean draw. It's just like 1-to-1. There are nuances for those who are watching. There are nuances for both methods, which I guess if you especially practice them, you see them in a lot more evidently. But this is what I mentioned before. With most archery technique is the same, right? When you shoot Mediterranean with a recurve bow or thumb draw with a horse bow, the technique is mostly the same. And in effect, as long as you get the right alignment, that's fine. That's nice control. It's fast, but that's fine. That's what you're doing. Because I think you mentioned your thumb draw. You tend to shoot quite quickly before you reach anchor, and that's to me this is fine. You anchor, you expand. It's good back tension. And a slight hesitation there. That's fine. That's normal. You get used to it. It's a very slight twitch. I think it was when I first watched this. I think the release. It's a little jumpy, I think. So, a couple of things to observe, not necessarily wrong, but to observe. I think this is a hallmark of maybe your thumb shooting. It's a little low. A lot of Mediterranean tend to start a little higher, but you are kind of lifting it upwards. So, at the same time, it's not out of alignment. Let's see here. Yeah, I would normally expect the L would be slightly higher because the line of draw is through your pressure point here, right? So you would normally expect this to be a little higher. So you start to draw, but it's a linear draw, so it works fine. Sorry about that. It works completely fine too. But the thing I think you release. There's a slight inch there, slight collapse. I think you anticipate the release of just a little, so it isn't the cleanest possible release. I'm kind of nitpicking here, but your shooting is still going to be very accurate because your alignment's the main thing there. There's small things that to release. I think your technique is consistent enough where it's not going to be a huge factor, but there might be a mental anticipation of letting go. I'm not sure you feel the same with your thumb draw, but this particular process is already like 95% good, but there might be a mental barrier which you can build in as a habit if you don't watch out for this. Just make sure you keep it nice and smooth. That's a nice and smooth shot there. So I think most of your shots are fine. Maybe 1 or 2 are a little staggered, but again, that's archery for you. Can't be perfect 100% of the time. I think that one was a little light, a little looser. That was a good shot there. That's nice and solid. So you're shooting closest and instinctive. I think that's pretty cool. I think the last 3 shots are pretty representative for your process. I think this is your 3rd shot. That was a little quick. That's your 2nd shot, sorry. Then to one more shot. Yeah, I think this one here. Let's go back a bit. I think this one here is pretty good. That was good timing there. Nice solid anchor. This one over here was a little quick. I think this last one was a good one. There we go. That's good timing there. I think it's mostly for you. It's work with consistent timing, so that way when you go through the process, so when you go through the process, the release is a little soft, yeah. So where are we at? Just looking at chat at the moment. I wouldn't say it's overbowed. Perhaps if Gizmodo feels that way, perhaps. But I find that a fast release isn't necessarily a sign of being overbowed, especially when you're shooting at such a close distance. Mentally, you don't feel like you have to take your time. I do a similar thing. I tend to do a similar thing with my target in my backyard with quarantine archery because it's so close I can't miss it. So rather than hold on to the shot more than I have to, I tend to let it go and it normally hits right in the middle. Sometimes I pay a bit more attention to exactly what I'm looking at, but a close target often breeds a faster shot process. Whereas if you move back to say 40 meters, I doubt he'll be shooting this quickly. He'll probably be sighting a bit more consciously. So that's why I'm not going to hang on too much for I'm not gonna harm too much to how fast he's shooting. I'm not gonna say it's overbowed or it's a bad technique. I think it's mostly gonna be it's close distance as long as his back muscle is good, back tension engaged, and he's going through a consistent process. That's what we're looking forward to. Is it common? Sorry, this is Jeff's question. Is it common for people to lean forward in traditional archery? Asiatic, yes. A lot of Asiatic styles do have a forward lean. It's because it helps get the right shoulder alignment for optimal back tension and drawing. So they use especially heavier bows because traditional styles are built on using war bows. It's the body posture is used to maximum optimization, so that way you can more safely draw heavier bows. So that's probably very normal for trad. For Olympic style, it's much straighter. So you sacrifice heavy draw weights for consistent posture. That's mostly it. Understand that modern target archery is based on consistency and scoring points, whereas traditional archery, which is based on, say, military archery, is based on hitting a target rather than scoring points. So drawing heavy bows, hitting targets, compared to using powerful bows. That's what I meant. Sorry, scoring for points. Lookman, hollow back and its disadvantages. The reason hollow back is they're frowned upon in modern Olympic archery. I think Jared, if he can explain it as well in chat. The thing of hollow back is that you have you basically have a puffed chest, and you basically this is we call it the arching back or the hollow back. So you lean kind of backwards that way. The reason why it's a fundamental error with beginners is because it's a way to compensate for draw weight, because people aren't used to using this particular movement. And one thing is not having the right conditioning to use the right muscles, but secondly not used to having, and we talked about it with Jared in our live stream, not having the neural pathways to activate the right muscles and the right movement. So there's a certain muscular movement we do in archery, which because people aren't used to it, their brain tells them, do this instead. All right, so the arching back is kind of what Gabriel had in his video, where he was kind of trying to draw like that. So we have the alignment there, and then we go that way. So it puts a load on the wrong parts of your body, and that can cause some issues. But a big part is it really throws the alignment off. So with a normal straight back, okay, so you kind of have a tense here, your shoulder drop, your chest drops, okay, so your chest drops, you tense your core, and you have a straight back. That's one way of visualizing it. Whereas the other way is you have that way, okay. See this, okay, you have strong core, and especially understanding KSL shot cycle, strong core, you have this rotational movement. So you have the strongest and most stable alignment. As you're arching back, you lose stability. The center of balance shifts, your alignment comes out, and then you're using weaker muscles. So it's a less stable hold. That's the basic explanation of why. So yeah, thanks Jared for backing me up there. It's mostly core strength and stability. That's the 60-second version, but hopefully you actually see that. Okay, yeah, like Ismail said, yeah, short distance you tend to be snappier because the requirement to aim precisely isn't the same. Look, should you practice the same way short distance, long distance? Yeah, of course you should. But this isn't like, we're not judging scores, we're not shooting a competition, we're getting around, right? I know why you're doing it, right? I know why you're doing it. That's why I'm not picking on it. So even a nitpick on what habits are there, that's your thing. But for me as a coach, I know why you're doing it, so I'm not going to pick on you for that. Your shot process looks fine. Okay, next up, let's hit. I think. Let me deal with Zack over here. He's the only Instagram one, so I want to take it out of the way and get it done with. I know other people in chat are here right now, but let's hit Zack up because it's got a few quick videos. These are extremely quick, so I can't really see anything. I'm not sure what feedback can say. This is one shot. Yeah, that's a really, I mean, the best thing is that it auto plays. So we analyze the same shot over and over again. Let's watch a different one. This is shot 2. We're not really seeing the whole picture. Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay, that's interesting. Good, same shot. Shooting 3 under. Even though you don't see the whole picture, we can probably analyze a few things, right? And this is the whole picture here. Ah, okay. Oh, now there's a lot we can talk about. Alright, stance is going to be an issue here. Alright, that's a bit of a lazy stance. Either pick square, where the feet are in line and parallel, or go open. If you're going open, that's an open stance, right? So the feet are positioned in the open stance, the angle, but they're not pointed the right way. So this is an unstable position. You actually see it is unstable. So either point this foot forward slightly that way. If you're shooting proper target style, then often the feet are both slightly angled that way anyway. But at least have this one perpendicular, that one angled forward. It'll make a huge difference to stability. We were just talking before with Jake Kaminsky. He talked about the paper towel. Imagine you're standing on a paper towel and using your feet to tear them apart. Alright, that's not going to do the job there. So pay attention to feet position. That's one thing there. As for the drawing, I'm not sure if it's a jacket, but I feel the shoulder might be a little hunched. Could be the jacket though, so it's hard to tell these things immediately. Let's go to the second one again. Got a reference point, good. Middle finger in the corner of the mouth. So, this is maybe me, my bias, but I feel the draw's a little too linear. It literally goes in a straight line. From a picture point of view, it's fine. Apart from the stance, it looks like a good alignment there. But it's like it goes right back, and most archers don't draw that straight. But again, trad tends to be a bit more linear, so that's normal too. Interesting. This is something where it's only one shot each, so it's so easy to overanalyze one shot. It's not bad. Let's put it that way. I think all the fundamentals are there. It's just hard to kind of. I need to see the whole process. This is the only one we have. It's only one shot though, and never analyze one shot. You know, you want to see patterns. Because one shot could be like, you know, that's a bit of a limp follow through, but, you know, is it all shots or is it one shot? But for the most part here, I think it's like 70% good. Stance is a bit off there. Not sure about the shoulders. Otherwise, elbow position's alright. Anchor looks fairly strong. It's hard to kind of tell what's happening afterwards. So, yeah, look, it's a good shot. I'm not sure if it's a great one. I think that's your personal feeling, but it's a good shot. So that's tough. I mean, that's a really hard thing to analyze, just because. Yeah, what's the feedback? Looks a little static. Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree it's a little static. I think the top one, you can tell that's he lets go, and then he lets it slide back. That's not a genuine follow through. Genuine follow through is you power through the shot. So you think release and everything opens up at once. Whereas that one's like let go and then follow through. So that's a little dishonest as far as follow through goes. I think the same thing's happening over here as well. I feel like it's a bit too much A to B. Now, what I mean by this is like instead of thinking of drawing as a step in itself, it's like a pathway, it's like A to B. How do I explain this? It's like you're drawing and you go up and then in, and then let go, up, in, and then let go. So it's a little too linear, too rigid. Again, this is normal for linear. Also a little I don't know, I find to me, like especially nowadays I shoot like more target style, KSL style, I feel more focused on drawing. So when I had the setup position, I think alright, shoulder in and draw. The loading thing is a whole step in itself. So I put a lot of effort into going in and then anchor. Whereas a lot of people tend to go align, pull back, align, pull back. just be careful with that, especially with heavier bow, because it tends to not load the weight onto the right back muscles. It tends to load onto the shoulder here, and that's one of the most common sources of archery injury if you're going rotational like that. So try to think of the loading as think of your back, lead with your elbow, engage back muscles on the draw, and then anchor. You go here to here, you risk kind of having that injury of the shoulder there. Just be careful about that. Yeah, I was gonna say incorporeal, exactly the same thing there. So like it looks a bit more of a draw from the hand. So like I said, A to B, like anchors here. So you go anchor, draw to anchor. Whereas with a good draw, it tends to be more in there, up there. But that's a bit of a minor thing. But otherwise, looks pretty good. So let me catch up with chat here. Yeah, landscape on the phone, definitely. Lookman, where's my? Do I have my other finger tab here? Yes, I do. My physics. Speaking of which, I finally replied to physics. They're sending me stuff. Ah, good. All right, one more. Where was I? In case you squeeze the finger spacer, so what do you look for in a finger spacer design? The most important thing of finger spacer is positioning. Some people will build it up. Some people will pad the spacer so the fingers. What you don't want the fingers to wrap all the way around and pinch anyway, and people will ignore it. So this is a very skinny spacer, haven't built it up. So what people tend to do is when they have the string, they do this. Okay, see the fingers? They clutch around the spacer. So that's one issue with finger spacers, which a lot of people will bulk up. Now, Coach Lee basically said you don't need to do that because most people are using it wrong. Okay, so the finger spacers are fine if you do it correctly. And what people are meant to do is they squeeze the base of the spacer. So you focus on the inside of your fingers, squeezing the base of the spacer. Hope that makes sense to you, right? This is like, you can't see me, I know, but that's why it should look like it. So you squeeze the base. So it doesn't matter how thick or thin the spacer is, as long as you squeeze the base, then you should have a good separation in your fingers. But many people don't do that. They'll think about going around the spacer, which kind of defeats the purpose of having space in the first place. And that's why some people prefer a thicker spacer, or they pad it with putty or something. So some people will fix the spacer for that issue. Others will have to more mentally remember the correct technique, and that is to squeeze the base like that. We've said before that if you're not wearing the strap, you should be able to execute a shot and the spacer stays in your fingers. It's the same thing with mobile phones as well. So you're holding a mobile phone or you're holding a spacer for a strap. When you release, it should stay in your hand like that. Okay? So whereas if you have a habit of not squeezing it and you're wrapping it around, it kind of goes off like that. So just be careful of that. The other thing that's important is the positioning of the spacer. So if it's positioned wrong, it's actually a big thing with any spacer you use. If it's too far or too deep, you can't get it. If it's too far deep, you'll wrap around it. If it's too shallow, then you can't pinch it properly. It goes to your knuckle instead. Main thing is squeeze base of the fingers, stays on. Hopefully that helps. All right, what's next? We'll talk about Archer's elbow. Maybe someone else in chat can take, or Jared over here, take the injury question. I want to move on the next form check. Archery elbow is a thing. It's not necessarily overbowing though. It's more like if you're consciously putting pressure and the alignment, the rotation is too far, it's too tense. I find it's a bit too tense when you're doing that, right? If you are excessively tense, then you're putting a lot of pressure on your elbow. Very similar to tennis elbow. But that's something else I'll talk about in more detail at a different time, perhaps. Okay, let's go to, well, I'm gonna order here. Ryan, are you still here, Ryan? Let's get yours up and running. Yes, it works here. All right, let's do Ryan. So saw Ryan chat before. I know a few people here. I think Craig is here. And oh, it wasn't loading. Load please, let's refresh that. Wow, it's already been like an hour. Crap, it's been like 3. Okay, come on, work. Yes, alright. Let's flip over the screen. That isn't the screen. Where's my OBS? There. Here we go. Any high resolution that? It's 360. Alright, it's right. We'll do potatoes. That's right, I blinked and I missed it. What's going on there? That's a quick shot process. That's a quick process, my friend. Now, you've just started learning, haven't you, right? You're fairly new, if I recall correctly from your email. So just remind me how long you're shooting for, because I think this is a good starting point. But there are things which you need to watch out for. Okay, these are easy fixes. Just a few things to keep in mind. Let's see your long distance shooting. Ooh, 20 meters. Stand back. Okay, I think we know we can fix. These are very straightforward things to keep in mind. They're probably like 5 things, which is a lot actually, but was it a miss? Happens. There are a lot of small things, but they're raw things which every learner has to go through. Okay, is it any longer? That's it. Alright, that's alright. Let's do one more shot and then we'll go to analysis. Alright, and okay. So let's do it. That's 12 meters. Alright, so I think people are going to pick out like a dozen things. So let's go through what I would focus on as a coach. So this is fairly normal for beginner level. So I said before, I blinked and I missed it. So your shot process is blindly quick. It's too quick for any archer, really. Even snap shooting, it's too quick for that. So take your time. I can't emphasize enough. Take your time to go through the shot. 1 month is about right. Thank you. Yeah. So take your time. So what I mean by that is make sure you take the time to go through each step in your process rather than rushing through the process and getting the shot off. Right, so let's see what we can do here. So what I would first advise is check your stance. Now that's a good foot angle. The feet are positioned or angled quite well for stability. It looks a little wide. Alright, now this may be fine for you, and in most cases you can shoot fine with any stance. Alright, so I understand that when we say stance, you can shoot for any stance. Like, you can shoot the feet in the wrong position, you can shoot like turning backwards. Stance isn't that important. Hip position is, but stance can be flexible. But for optimal results, you should perhaps think about closing your stance just a bit and see how that works for you. Otherwise, looking pretty good there. That's what your feet should be. We're shooting open. I like the hook here. So far, so good. Now, what we said before with Zack on Instagram is the draw. Alright, the draw is lacking an anchor point that's consistent, so I'm not sure exactly where you're anchoring. Now you've worked into a habit, so you do know you draw roughly the same point there, but I'm not exactly sure where you're anchoring. It's right to your chin, which is neither under nor at the cheek. It's kind of like you're not up here where most trad shooters will anchor, and you're not down here, which is where most target shooters will anchor. You're shooting instinctive, I guess, so that makes more sense to most people. You're kind of touching here. I feel like you're just touching your chin, and therefore you're hitting here and less letting go. So you're kind of building in an instinctive, reflective snap shooting technique, and I don't think that's necessarily the way you want to go about this. You can definitely shoot quickly and snap shoot with a stronger anchor. Again, I can't really see it from the angle here, but I get the feeling that you're drawing to your chin, and then you just let it go. Speaking of which, the next part, apart from your anchor, choosing a strong anchor position, the release needs to be dynamic. So this is A to B shooting. You draw. So your A to B is you draw, and then you let go. You draw, not that you draw and you let go. Draw, let go. Draw, let go. So we need to work in a process where mentally you have a checklist of what feels right before you let go, right? So what I would work into, for the reason why this is not a good release, it's a dead release, is that there's no back tension. You might be using a light bow. You can get away with that. You draw here, and then you're not continuing to draw. So remember that a shot is actually a push-pull motion. Whether you see push-pull or not is different, but you're pushing forward your front arm, you're pulling back of your rear, and you're expanding. So you're moving, this is moving backwards, that's moving forward. It's a constant motion, all right? So when you release, you anchor, push forward, release at the same time. That's what motion should be. You don't try to go whoop way like that, but you are continually going through, and you feel a shot. So when you go on target, what you need to visualize is you have your process where you take the time to draw, engage the back muscles. You have to feel it into your back. All right, so you don't want to go, I'm holding a bow. Let me show you the bow. Don't go, I'm holding bow and string. Pull it back here. All right, don't go A to B, A to B, A to B. There's a process in each step. So with drawing, you want to make sure you feel it in your back. So rather than go, I'm an anchor and I can let go, you go, all right, the drawing step means my shoulders should be in alignment. When I draw, I feel back tension. And when I anchor, I feel the squeeze. And then I can think of expanding, pushing forward, and releasing at the same time. So work in a more rigorous shot process. That's my main advice for you, Ryan. I think if you address those things, you have a much stronger foundation for more consistent shooting. That way you have time to aim, that way you can be more consistent. There are other things, but I'll mostly check the process at this point here. So between here and here is where you need the most work. There are things like alignment, sure, but let's work in the foundations of steps in your process. So at this point, I'll recommend when you get to here, think about your draw and getting the back muscle engagement. Now, you might want to lower your drawing elbow and engage more of your back. When you reach here, you can see it so quickly, right? So let's go through each step again. At this point, focus only on drawing, not aiming, not anchoring, not releasing. Focus only on drawing. At this point, you should feel a strong anchor against something. We recommend the chin for traditional shooting because at least it's bone on bone, okay? When you, whoops, I didn't even do that. If you're just touching here, it's very light, very loose. It's not consistent enough. It's not good enough for shooting. Or I might go touch, let go, not good enough. The cheek is bone. So we normally recommend either anchor on the jaw for target shooting, for modern target shooting, but for trad shooting, the cheek is a much better reference point because you can feel solid contact. Whereas anything down here, it's mostly soft tissue or stubble or whatever, so it's a little harder to get a consistent point here. That's number 2. So we said draw, anchor, and then expand. So then let's go here, let go, think here, expand, so push forward, open up the chest muscles, and then you get through like that. So that's what I recommend for your process. That should give you enough to think about for your next month going forward, and hopefully that'll help you a lot more, okay? Otherwise, keep it up. The fact that you're flinging arrows is a good thing, especially in these conditions. But I think that would be the best advice for you, is to work a focal point in your mental shot process. All right, I feel like I'm being hard on people, but if it helps, just say so. If I'm a pretty cynical teacher, especially that I've been doing remote teaching for like 3 weeks. I'm getting a little cynical here, but I hope that helps. All right, let's see. Next up, Let's delete that. Thanks, Ryan, for sharing that. That's a good first shot there, and hopefully that gives you a good way forward. Craig is here, I believe. Craig, you sent like 100 videos, so I'll go through your latest one. I need to download it first, don't I? I'll download it. Alright, I think I saw a bit of it before. Alright, so we'll look at your most recent one, Craig, if you don't mind. Which you updated, which is great, by the way. People are improving a lot, so we go through the most recent one. If I'm curious enough, I'll watch the other one, but this should be enough. I got a lot of barebow shooters today. Is that the same exchange? I'm just shooting one today. Oh, okay, we can learn a lot from this one. I feel bad for Jared. I brought Jared in and say, alright, we'll do some form checks. There's like not a single person doing Olympic. Actually, there is one person. You'll watch. Well, let's watch Craig for now. Alright. What's your draw weight, Craig, by the way? Looks a little light. Alright. And how long are you shooting for as well? I think you mentioned you just started too, right? It's been like a week or something? Still very early days for you. Okay, that should be back view. We don't need the back view. I think the front view covers most things we need. But watch back for back tension. Okay, all right. So in terms of your back, that's not bad. You're working your back muscles there. You know what you're doing. The main thing is imbalance. Okay, so you might have been paying attention to me saying push forward a lot. I say that a lot because most people pull back too much. You push forward too much. Alright, so let's see the structure of the shot. The first thing I say is you're pushing forward too much. Alright, let's watch. Now, at this point in the draw, you want to make sure your hips and your shoulders are in line, okay? So you don't want to... Yeah, what you don't want to do is rotate your torso that much on the draw. All right, let me demonstrate again. All right, 4 weeks, not bad. I mean, people are shooting like 1 month here. This is really a good learning chance. All right, I know people don't have a chance to like learn or get coached much, so hopefully these things will help you out. So, you know, 1 month is about right for most of these techniques. We see consistency. So let me get my headphones out of the way. All right, recently, but I've been rolling my own headphone cable. I'm getting my bow though. Alright, so, what am I doing? Whoop, yeah, no back tension, that's about true. Alright, so, back to demonstrating with the bow. So, what I see people doing, and this is an example of this here, is I'm seeing a lot of rotation, okay? So, a lot of people, when they shoot, they'll turn their whole hips. It's a rotation of draws a thing. I'm saying it's wrong, but there's a lot of excessive rotation. The second thing is, what we generally don't want to see is a shoulder rotation. So people do this. They start with almost like a front-on position, and then they turn around like that. That to me is a lot of stress. You're putting stress on this shoulder, putting stress on this shoulder. I don't want to see this draw. That to me is it feels like you're working harder. You're getting like that, but that's not really what you want to do. You want to make sure your structure is in place before you draw. So when you have your stance looks okay, keep your hips still, and before you draw, get your shoulders in position first. So do this motion before you draw, then you anchor. So you don't want to go like that. You want to go up, get in position, then the draw. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Oh, ouch. Yeah, I also feel that if you're learning from me, I say push forward. That's why this seems to be a new sensei problem. So people always used to lean back and pull back. You're pushing forward far too much. So archery, a lot of archery is about balance. So what I'm seeing is you're going boom that way, alright? So you're starting here, then you finish off that way. Alright, so what you want to do is make sure you keep still, alright? So most people, like I said before, most people tend to pull back a bit too much and they collapse in like that. You're going too far forward, and we'll show it on screen, but that's one of the biggest things in the moment is you're throwing yourself into the shot too much. Whoops. Alright, back to you can see it, Craig. See, that shouldn't be happening. Alright? So it's because you're using a light bow, I guess. You're putting far too much forward pressure. Alright, so there's no reason to be. You don't physically move yourself forward. It's meant to be a forward motion balanced out by a rear motion. Alright, so I know you are consciously doing it. I reckon it's easy for you to remind yourself to get this working. Alright, so you're doing full front arm work. It's a reversal of the most common problem, I think. So you're going through the shots a bit too quickly for a beginner. Alright, I think people learning need to take their time. So work through a process. Alright, get the steps right. The faster you go, the more you leave inconsistent. So there are the shoulders not lined correctly, the chest isn't dropped down correctly. Take your time in your shot process. Alright, so there's too much body movement. You got to keep your body still. That last shot there was very telling. So you see how much movement there is. I mean, let's use a reference point. Okay, so let's say this your head at the moment. There's a pipe going through a drain pipe right above your head. All right, that's a reference point. If you see how far you move, I think Craig. That says it all, alright? So think about where you're starting from. There shouldn't be any movement like this, alright? You start from drain pipe and you finish nearly by the other drain pipe, alright? So that's several inches of head movement right there. That's going to be something you want to make sure you fix up, okay? So have a stable structure before you draw the arrow, alright? That's what I recommend. Your elbow's not too bad, actually. You're shooting on a lower target, your elbow's pointing at your pressure point, so that's okay. It's a light bow. Don't feel using enough back tension, alright? And I think you're putting way too much focus on pushing forward. Tone it down a bit. Especially with a light bow, you don't have to move that much forward, okay? Your basic structure seems okay, so I think you've learnt well. But the actual motion is what you need to work on, which is about what I would expect. Many people are good at kind of replicating specific steps in the process, but they also need to work on the motions of connecting these things together. And that's what I think you're at, is you need to work through the motions in your process more so than the physical like milestones or checkpoints. So there's some stuff before that. Yeah, a bit of reverse collapse. Yeah, now you're leaning forward a bit too much. So yeah, make sure you stand. So you can see that movement, right? Head still. All right, let me show you again. We're in a good position. We're in a very good position to demonstrate this sort of stuff here. Oh, ouch. All right. It's a very good position to demonstrate this. So let's demonstrate it again. So let's get a reference point here. Reference point is, can I get the American flag behind me? All right. Now you can probably see enough reference to kind of look at what I'm talking about when I'm keeping my head still. Okay. So what I'm doing here, head still right there, next to chat. So in my whole process, let's go unlock an arrow, and then draw. There's basically no head movement whatsoever. I'm looking at the screen at the moment, but I'm looking that way. Pick my posture, and then that's it. Settle in. What I don't want to do is go lean forward, and then like that. Okay, I feel like you're leaning back a bit. You lean forward sometimes, lean back a bit, but keep your posture straight. Settle in. Draw. And you are solid and stable. If you don't feel that you are choosing the right foundation for your shot, it will be unstable, it will be erratic. So be careful with that particular thing. Alright? And I said before, head stay still. Alright. That's a lot of arrows, yeah it is. I think that covers the main thing, Craig. I hope that helps. I didn't look at the other ones, but you've got, that's probably the most relevant one you're showing me. Hopefully that helps for you. So there's a question I missed before, was that get heavier limbs. I don't recommend it. If you want to, sure, but problems aren't caused by light bows. All right. If you can't get technique right with a light bow, then you don't know the technique correctly. Now that people say heavier bows give better feedback. In some degrees, yes, they do, because you need to use more correct form to use a heavier bow, no doubt about that. But if you aren't capable of doing the same technique on a light bow, then your technique's at fault, not your strength. All right, you can't be too strong for a bow. That's ridiculous. Even honestly, I find some bows too light. I was at a club the other month, and we were shooting like 12-pound bows for beginners, and like, what the hell is this? It's like a toy bow. I couldn't pull it back and anchor properly. There's no feedback. There is a point where it's way too low, but the thing is that if you can't demonstrate good technique with that, then you shouldn't go higher. What am I holding here? It's only 20 pounds. This is a 20-pound kid bow. The junior bow, 20 pounds only, right? I can still feel the feedback. Alright, if it can't do it right on 15 pounds, then there's no point me doing it with 35 pounds or 40 pounds or 50 pounds, because it will punish you. What you will see with your technique right now is that with a heavier bow, you will not be able to draw it because the bow will basically pull you back in like that. Alright, the way you're doing right now is not going to work with a heavier bow. So master technique on a light bow, and then work with a heavier bow. And yes, if you use the wrong form of heavy bow, you are more likely to cause injury. Just be mindful of that. Alright. But yeah, my main feedback for you, Craig, is balance. Don't push too much. You've gone the other way. So make sure that when I say push, the expansion is an invisible motion. You're not meant to see it. As a coach, I know when people are doing it correctly because you can sense the motion. But thanks, Jared. Yeah, I'm being punched by Mike Tyson gives you much more bigger feedback. No, like you gotta learn the light stuff first. But yeah, the expansion should be an invisible motion. You shouldn't have to consciously go, look, nu.sensei, I'm expanding. No. Yeah, you wanna feel it internally, but you don't want to show it so much where we can see. If I can see your expansion, then it's too overt. So expand doesn't mean throw yourself that way. Right? Expand means you stay still, you push forward, and you release at the same time. But it shouldn't be that movement. Again, when you film yourself, if you can see yourself moving, then you're doing it wrong. Make sure you balance it out. Alright, there's some questions in chat at the moment floating around. Yeah, 25 pound is fine. Like it's like we said, it's technique more than anything else. But yeah, don't swing too far the other way when it comes to using heavy or light bows. People go like polarized, either 15 pound or 50 pound. Don't do that. Like, be reasonable. But I'm against people getting higher draw weights to fix problems. No. The only way you would change, draw weight is if you were having a hard time with a heavy bow. So you'd learn technique on a light bow. But don't go, oh, I'm getting it wrong on a light bow, therefore I'm getting a heavy bow. Doesn't work that way. Alright. Let's get to our next one. Pooh Bear. I think this was a very quick one. Man. Some of these things don't download properly. Let's open. I didn't want to do this one. Okay. Yep. Great. Fantastic, Craig. Send me another video. We'll do another one in the next week or two. I didn't like this one because it's a very quick one and it's a worse angle. But compound bow. That's fine. I don't mind that. The reason why I don't want to do this is that I can't see a single thing. Okay. All I'm going to say is, it looks fine. Looks fine to me. Nice strong draw. Good elbow position. In line with the string for the most part. Nice back tension. Posture looks pretty good here. Very, very good compound stance. It looks as good as it gets. I just can't see a single thing other than that. But otherwise, looks good, Pooh Bear. Well done. Next. Oh dear. What can I say? How can I say? Well, look, it's a compound bow. Like a lot of compound shit like this. Is it the best cleanest draw? A lot of compound shit like that. I can't say more than that. It's not wrong. And this is a professional setup, right? So why would I criticize this draw? For the most part, looks fine. There's nothing glaringly wrong, which I would say fix immediately. Alright, especially from this angle. So, I'll leave it at that. What's next? How many arrows? A dozen. Probably 6 or 12. 12 is flexible because, like, when you buy... here's the rule, right? When you buy arrows, you always break one. Okay? So if you buy 6 arrows, you've got 5. Not enough. 6 is good if you are like experimenting with like spines. If you're not sure what spine you're getting, then 6 is fine. But if you want to get an actual practicing set, a dozen minimum, because you'll break 2. You will. There's no way around that. They call it an archer's dozen for a reason. Alright, next up. We get Eliza. Maybe Jared can help me here, right? Eliza's been doing... I'm surprised she's not here right now. Maybe it's the wrong time for her, but Eliza has been... This is her 3rd session, I think. Yep, this is her 3rd session with us. So let's watch Eliza. She's been really good at sharing this. So she's made a lot of improvements with her shoulder alignment. Let's get hopefully Jared's still here. Let's get some feedback for Eliza because she has been benefiting a lot from the coaching she's been getting. That's a new bow, 34 pound, rated limbs. That's an improvement. I'll say it right now, right? Gotta be a coach, positive encouragement here. That's an improvement. Oh, being fancy with the camera angles. For those who've been watching us for the last few form checks, the last month we've gone through a lot of fixes. Oh, I am happy with that. And bop on the head. That's bare bow for you. Well, that's stabilizer free for you. It happens. When you don't have stabilizers, it flops backwards. That is a whole lot better than what we saw 3 weeks ago. And we're using the click on the site now. Okay. We're not using it at the moment, I see that. But we're getting somewhere. Alright, we're making progress. We're making really good progress. How are we going here? Okay, show me back tension. Okay, or shoulder alignment. Yeah, your elbow is very high. As a coach, I'm reasonably happy because I'm seeing improvement. A lot of people see like a spot check and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, there are a lot of things wrong." But if this is your 3rd session with us, and I think there's some big improvements. That's a nice bush, I guess. Oh, this is looking so much more like a process. Okay, this is good coaching material because this is good work in progress. That there are a lot of things I like. I don't like that, by the way. Oh, no, no, don't do that. Do not sky draw. All right. Yeah. No, Eliza. Oh. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna swing the opposite way. All right, now if you yeah, you might call a neighbor like that. Don't do that, especially in your backyard. All right, ouch, don't do that. Okay, so let's be serious. Okay, so I mean, normally Eliza's normally here, so she normally gets the feedback very well. So before I talk about the clicker, which Jared's talking about right now, there is something. Okay, so what she's been doing before, she had a lot of trouble with her shoulder coming up this way, and she couldn't get the alignment right. She had a popping kind of shoulder over here. There were a lot of weird shoulder things with her. So she's working more into a static structure, which is what we're looking at. So she's paying more attention. It's only been a couple of weeks, by the way, so I understand where she's going from. So there are quite a few things where she's now paying more attention to where her shoulders are, which is good. And she's working a bit more to get that shoulder alignment in there. Okay, so far so good. Now we have to address the sky draw right away because I think Eliza has swung towards what I call the tennis serve kind of draw, where you work in a bit too much movement. All right, so I'll mime it rather than using the bugs. I'll smack something like this, right? So a lot of people do this. So we get that there are different steps, and this is why, by the way, when you learn this, use steps and use stretching bands too. But use steps. Actually, say out loud. I'm using KSL for example. Have set, set up, draw, anchor, transfer, expand, follow through. Actually articulate these steps, and I think you're at the point now where these steps will make more sense to you. So I do recommend you incorporate steps into your shot process, so you call out, in the absence of a coach, you call out the steps you are doing. Now the reason why I mention this right now is I feel that your process is a bit you're trying too hard to make the process smooth, and as a result you have what's called what I call a tennis swing. It's a wind up where you go like that, okay, and that's what it's like a tennis swing. We kind of throw it up there, and then you serve, or a golf swing sort of thing, where you kind of have this golf swing in the back, and then you just swing and you hit the ball. So you're doing a similar thing with the bow, where you're going all right up and then like that, and the result of that is the sky draw. Okay, that's something that's undesirable. You don't want to go up and then down like that. So that's one thing. I stopped right there. Stop it before you get in trouble for that. Don't do that. Anyway, apart from that, yeah. By the way, we can fix that. That's the last time. Yeah, there's still a problem. Not as bad. I like your diagram there. That's a much straighter. That's close to what it should be. That's what it was before. Oof. Those were the times. Those were the times. So we've definitely fixed that. Okay. Don't do that again. And you gotta bear in mind, by the way, Eliza, is that you are shooting a lower target. Your target is slightly below horizontal, alright? So if I'm correct, if you're aiming the middle of the target, then it wouldn't be surprising for me for you to lean forward just a bit there. Right? You're leaning backwards a bit to make it work. So depending on how low your target is, I would expect you to be leaning a little forward because you want your shoulders in line, so you bend at the waist. Okay, so feel you are lowering the front arm, and that's why it's pushing up this way. Otherwise, not too bad there. The better point is the elbow in line with the pressure point? That's something to give away. Target elevation always plays havoc. Alright, that's full draw. Alright. The elbow isn't that bad. If you trace the elbow and the forearm, it's more or less where it should be. That's a rough here. I've seen a back view. Alright, that's not that bad. Can we use the front view again? You gotta get this posture right. I think that you gotta choose a posture and stick with it. I don't like this wiggling around. So the draw is pointing too high up for your target. It's okay to start a little higher above the target, but you don't want to be that high up. Also recommend you bend your wrist outwards for this. Alright, but what I mean by this is when you have your fingers on the string, keep it bent this way, so you draw in like that. If you stand that way, you're more inclined to have the elbow point upwards and incomplete. So that's one thing there. Yeah, no, like Jared said, it's a very big improvement. I love that inclusion, that last video, the last clip there. This is what coaches are happy seeing this. There are always things to fix, but we're happy seeing improvement. So let's ignore the shuffle. All right, we've got a bit of a shuffle there. Once you get used to the right posture, keep it still. Don't move around like this at full draw. All right, get it right first time around. If you don't get it right, start again. Don't fix it halfway through. It's a bad habit to get into. But from a static point of view, that's not bad. It's not that your elbow's too high. Your target is below horizontal. That's why. That's all it is. It's not. I mean, that's a good grip. That's picture perfect hook there. Anchor point looks really good. I mean, Jared probably agrees with me. Like, if I showed Jared this single still frame, this doesn't look that bad. I mean, all I'm saying, I'm just looking at the elbow here, because this is what Eliza's kind of fixated on at the moment. It doesn't look that bad. I didn't notice it as a form fault when I watched the video. Like, if I trace that line through the elbow, through the hand, it may be a little high. Alright, it should be kind of aimed right there. It may be a little high. But I think the main thing is, if you're shooting at a target, where's the target? We're going to see the target cam again. The target is below your horizontal. That's slightly lower, so you're aiming below, which means you are lowering your front arm to get that position, and you don't have to do that. We have to be very clear here, right? No, it's good structure. We have to be clear that when we analyze things, we have to look at everything in context. And I've been doing this long enough where I see people practice in the backyards, and many of us right now are practicing in our backyard safely, hopefully. But shooting at a target in a backyard often means you're putting it lower to the ground so it's safer, because a lot of people don't have backstops or sheds or garages. But when you're shooting that low, or even slightly lower, a lot of I got to do a video about this at some point, because so many people shoot at a target down there. If I'm shooting, say, 5 meters, target's down there, I'm gonna align like that. I'm literally gonna like lean forward and get it right. I'm so used to it by now, right? But if I do it that way, people will think your elbow's too high. Yeah, but the target's down there. I'm pointing straight down that way. This is correct. Whereas if I get it in line, you know, if I lower my front arm, see, that is now too high. My front arm is too low. My elbow's too high, or too low actually. That's weird. I did this every stream. This is this teapot thing, right? No, like it's you have to bend the waist. This, if you shoot field, you know what I'm talking about, right? But you gotta bend the waist, and that's why sometimes. But the point I'm making, just ran over something. Sorry. The point I'm making is that it's easy to misdiagnose problems when you don't realize you're shooting at a target which is not optimal. But you assume targets are flat and same level as you. But if you're shooting below, then you've got a lot of people actually have this problem, and the shoulder comes up like that. So that might be why you had the problem in the first place. But it's not that your arm is too high, maybe very, very, very slightly. But it's more that you need to remember that you are aiming slightly lower. So that's why it might look a little higher. Hopefully that helps. But great job so far. Sorry, we stopped on the sky draw there. Let's see one more shot. That's right, that's right. Yeah. Lower, please. And yeah, get the posture right. So I don't mind if your posture is wrong and you commit to it. I'd rather not see this shift, because I'm not sure where you start from, where you finish. So apart from that, structurally, that's pretty good alignment. Pressure point's fine, but there's a bit too much hesitation. Show commitment to the shot. Yeah. Commit, damn it. That's it. Let's just commit. Otherwise, good work, Eliza. Keep it up. Alright, where else are we up to? Alright, that's Eliza done. I'm gonna fight through the rest. Steve. Wait, is this Ah, it is a form check, right? I took the wrong thing there. Okay. Yes, Steve, longbow. Is that English longbow? Nice. Love seeing trad stuff. Alright, if I recall correctly, we're kind of shooting in a pseudo historical way. Because one thing with English longbow, for those watching, is whether people choose to shoot with the traditional method or whether they shoot with a modern method. Let me just pause the video brief to explain the difference. So traditional. Hey, is that Steve? Hey, Steve. So the traditional method, the modern method is more akin to what we recognize as target archery. So the modern method is you draw onto your cheek or you draw to your chin down here. So that's more the modern method. They're shorter draws. The traditional method is a longer draw. The feet position is a little different. A lot of people shoot the front foot slightly forward and they lean into the shot. And that's what I think Steve is kind of doing at the moment, right? I'm curious, Steve, are you shooting more of a traditional method or a modern method? Because you kind of did a half-half in the video. I wasn't sure what you were doing there. It works really well, by the way. Just curious what you were focused on. Oh yeah, and by the way, your trad method draws a little longer, so you often will see long draws. I'm trying to squeeze in camera here. Yeah, mostly I thought so. That makes more sense to me. When you always find out what people are trying to do, because it looks wrong on one method but right in the other method. The trad method's more of, I can't fit my bow here, it's fine. Let's do it this way. So front foot slightly forward, and it's more of a lean into a shot. So you draw, and you lean into a shot, and then you have a longer draw like that. So it's much more pronounced lean for the shot, because you're usually shooting higher draw weights. Whereas the modern method, makes sense, shoot recurve, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's modern. Modern's more using arms, whereas the traditional method is more whole body engagement. So that's one thing I always ask before I critique style, is exactly what style you're doing. Because what looks wrong in one style is right in the other. So that makes sense. Oh, Eliza's finally in. Eliza, rewind like the last 10 minutes, and you'll see us make fun of your sky draw. So you're good there. Anyway, back to Steve. Awesome. Alright, so we know we're shooting a slightly modern style, so that's fine then. If we're shooting trad, people might pick on it, but actually this is not bad. If we're shooting a modern style, this is a pretty good process. Obviously you shot recurve. You can shoot longbow like this. And it's actually pretty good. And the funny thing is we actually demonstrate how you shoot at lower targets. We just mentioned this before with Eliza, right? So target's slightly low on the ground. And what's he doing? Bending at the waist. That is good alignment. And remember, at a lower target, you've got to bend at the waist. That's pretty good actually, Steve. Oh, I wouldn't complain about that. So you're grouping well. So what do I like about it? Consistency. Okay, we've seen a few videos today where the archer's been a little loose on the anchor. I think this is a very good demonstration of a solid anchor. Alright, so those who were shooting before, when I said you're going too quickly, this is good tempo, good solid anchor, and invisible expansion. You can tell that he's using back tension, but it's not trying to show it. Okay, he's not throwing himself forward. He's not trying to say, look, I'm using back tension. You can see he's using it, and it's compact and efficient. This is good shooting, Steve. And the results show for it too. I don't normally see target cam, but the results show for it. That's solid. I really wouldn't change this. Any changes you make to be what feels right for you. But from a third person here, your structure is very good. I like that you're using your back muscles. You can see that. And I think in most of your shots, you follow through quite nicely. It's a compact process. Yeah, the main thing. Hey, look, my new video over there. The main thing, I mean, it's such a small thing, but it's just be careful of lapsing in your process. There might be like one shot out of 10 where you might just like rush the shot, and that's what most people do, right? So I think your process and your form and your structure look really good. The results are of course very nice. All these shots are really good. Just don't get lazy. Just every now and then, I think we have this one shot. We go, yeah, I'm ankle mover. I'm just letting you go. I think there's one shot where I saw that. But this is such a simple and compact process. It works. Okay, this is a nice thing to aim for those who are watching, those who are new to sport at the moment, the 1 month shooters. That's where, what can I say? I can't really fault it. It works really well. Just nice, efficient draw. Shoulder alignment is good. Shoulder position is good. Levels are good. Anchor is strong. It's a nice shot. Yeah, buffering, whatever. Okay, it's a nice shot. There we go. Yeah, it's a nice shot. Steve, well done. I can't really give a shot. Just stay mentally focused on your process. Yeah, possibly a bit more shoulder alignment, but I think like it's such a good. Yeah, 10-meter groupings. Yeah. How do you anchor your? Sorry, looking again. Asking the question to you. How do you anchor? What you do is with your finger. I never use ledges for my finger tabs. I never use ledges. All right, so when you have your finger tab, pay attention to your hand position. All right, squeezing of course, and for many people, you want to have this shape with your fingers. All right, and that will fit your jaw perfectly here. All right, so you feel the top of your fingers here and the crook of your thumb there. So when you do it that way, especially when you correctly have the wrist, when people shoot like this, the wrist bent outwards, it's really hard to anchor right because you're pivoting on your finger joint. So what you want to have is this kind of hook there. So when you draw, I'm wearing headphones, but you can probably imagine what I'm doing here. Hit down, anchor. All right, draw again, draw, anchor. Press this right under there. Right in that jaw there. That's how you anchor. Without a ledge. The reason why I don't like ledges is that ledges get in the way. For that reason. So that's how you. Most people I find don't use ledges. Those who do, good luck with that. I don't use one. All right. Is there anything else we to look at? No, that was Steve. Well done, Steve. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, just a few small things. So just watching the game briefly. Yeah, it looks solid for what most people are doing. It's completely fine. Yeah, it is a little static. Let's watch it again, right? So it's a little static, perhaps, but it's not like it's a bad release. It's a good release, but very compact. It's got back tension. No, it's not static. It's a very compact follow through. Yeah. So if it's a dead release. Sorry, again. I'm doing the recommended here. I'll just close that. Oh, whatever. Alright. Yeah, that's fine. Now, if it's a dead release, the hand would stay exactly where it is, right? There's movement. That's a dynamic release. It doesn't move very far. It doesn't have to. It's a very compact release. It's fine. Okay, yeah, you can optimize certain parts, but I'm not here to like turn to an ace shooter online. I'm looking at his structure, and these things look fine. That's not a dead release. That is not a dead release. That is a dynamic release. That's a very compact and efficient dynamic release. All right, it's static. You have to explain the point, but to me, it's a compact follow through. I'm not careful with the label too much. So like I'm being static if I'm letting it go. A static or dead release is more like you keep it here and you just let it go like that. That's a dead release where you have no movement. You have your back tension, but you let go from here. All right, that's a dead release. He has a very compact release. That's completely fine. You have to go all the way back here for a good release. Some people do that, but that's fine. Yeah, exactly what I said before. Yeah, it's not static. It's a dynamic release because you can see, that's what I mean, but you can recognize back tension being used. It's invisible, but the sign is you have a slight release, and people do that. Again, some people will really go the back tension and go woomph all the way back. That's a very flamboyant release, but that's a compact and efficient movement. If anything, I might say there's no wasted energy. That's why I think Steven's doing a good job with his technique. It's refined, it's practiced, it's processed, and it's quite efficient. So that's why I don't think there's too much which needs to be changed. I think just keep doing what you're doing and keep shooting well. All right, what else do we have over here? Oh man, oh wow, Alexander. Alex, you here? Alright, you sent like 4. Wow. Okay. How many Islamic sages are you sending me, guys? Oh my goodness. Oh, is that you, Alex? Okay, alright. Whoops, that let me show that. Is that a Islamic sage you're using? What is this? Is this like Islamic sage form check day? How long have you been shooting, Alex? It's been like a month for you too? Oh my goodness. So many Islamic sages. Alright. Yep, that's the Islamic sage. You can see the label right there in the bottom. Exactly where it should be. Alright, let's talk it through, Alex. Let's do it. Alright, so structure. Alright, your grip is a little off. Funny how like you're probably all looking at something going, wow, everything else is wrong. The first thing to see is the grip. Let's talk about grip. I don't have a Islamic sage to show you, but I want to demonstrate. Wait, I've got a grip here. What I'm talking about. Sorry. I know I have this for a reason. Thank you, Chaser. Alright. Grip. This is a grip. Alright. So, a few weeks. Good. This is what I thought for a few weeks. Sorry, Alex. I thought you were somebody else remembered there. Alright, yeah. So, yes. Your grip is why you have elbow problems. Alright. So, you're basically holding the grip like... You're holding it like this. This is not the same grip, but you can imagine what you're doing here. You're basically wrapping your fingers around the grip like that. Okay? You're not actually using the pressure point. So your arm is basically dead in line like this. That's what you're doing with your grip. So of course you're going to skim your elbow joint like that. Okay? So V-shaped grip. Not this grip. V-shape. Grip. Goes like that. So you can squeeze that on the pad of your thumb over there. Okay, that's the grip you want. If you're using a bare bone, people do this. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I tend to do it this way. That's the front of the grip. All right. You're doing this. You almost you have an eagle claw nearly, right? So you're doing that. So because of that, your elbows will be rotated that way. Can you see that? That's going to be pretty telling. V grip. There's my elbow. It's turn around. Straight grip. V grip. Bit of, isn't it? That's how we do online coaching, right? So can you see right away in your video? And the reason I can tell is that the pad of your thumb there is it's not even on the pressure point. That meaty part of the grip is the pressure point. That's where that thumb should be. Alright, yours is right between the base, at the base of your palm. All your fingers are wrapped around. Your palm is basically off the bow, and you're not using the pressure point. That's why your arm is rotated that way. That's why you have these hit marks over here. Alright, so that's the first thing. It's what you probably learn on a basic come and try session, but imagine it's happening right now with the current situation, so hopefully that makes sense to you, okay? So hopefully that makes a lot of sense there. And that's one thing. Alright, next up, we need an anchor point somewhere. Alright, what technique are we using? 3 under, okay, that's fine. You need an anchor point. Alright, so you're basically pulling somewhere here. Your anchor point is somewhere here. We don't want that, alright? We don't have a solid anchor point. So, choose an anchor point. If you're going to shoot, how am I doing? If you're going to shoot 3 under, call in the mouth. Behind your jaw? Why would you do that? You're shooting 3 under behind your jaw. Why? Why would you do that? Okay. I don't normally judge that, but why? I guess if you're using your thumb as a reference point? Help me out here, Alex. Like, why have you chosen the back of your jaw? I'll worry about stance later. Right? I'm just curious. Why here? What's the benefit of that? Why would you want maximum draw though, right? Because the only reason you would have a long draw is if you're shooting thumb draw traditional and you're shooting like 30-inch arrows. There's no benefit to anchoring here. And the reason why there are disadvantages is that you have no solid anchor here. Like your jaw moves, right? This isn't solid. Depending on what you do with your head or you open your mouth or whatever, this moves. Secondly, this is the pivot point. Who cares if you have 31 inches arrows? You don't have to draw 31 inches. Like, there's no need to draw to that much. Alright? If they're long, cut them short. Otherwise, ignore it. Like, I shoot long arrows. You don't have to draw because you're not using a clicker. You're not using a bowhand anchor. You're shooting a Samick Sage. You don't need to draw arrows to 30 inches to make it work. Just draw to your normal length. The reason why this isn't working for you, I'm being very serious here now, is like, this is the pivot point. Alright? So you're drawing here. But where's the anchor exactly? You're not anchoring here. This is a solid anchor. Call them out to the reference point. That's fine. Cheekbone, reference point. That's fine. But thumb here, I've never seen someone do that. Alright? This thumb knuckle pivots. That's why it's not a good anchor point. You will see in your video, and hopefully you recognize it too, that when you watch this, no anchors are identical. Alright, your draw and anchor is erratic. See? Let's watch this is edited, so it works really nicely. Alright, where'd you go exactly, right? You didn't reach your anchor point. So you've missed the anchor point, you tried to find it, you've missed it, you go back forward. And you collapse forward. That's normal for most archers not starting out. By the way, I think your veins point the wrong way. White one goes outwards. Just realised that. Your next vein, the other colour fetching, goes on the other side, facing outwards. Whatever you're doing, you're collapsing and you're anchoring. See, you're not anchoring yet on your cheekbone at all. That was a decent one there, but you're missing your anchor point half the time, and that's why this is a bad choice. I know being hard here. But you've got to form the fundamentals of good form here, and anchor points are the fundamentals of good form in archery. So you say, you know, jaw and thumb point, but half your shots are like here. So you're missing you're missing your anchor point. So that's why you've got to work anchor point closely. There's no reason to draw long, so you use a short anchor point and be consistent. If you're shooting warbow, yeah, fair enough, but you're shooting Samick Sage, alright? You don't have to draw the arrows that far back. Alright, it doesn't matter if it's too long. That's how it is. Alright, so anchor, call in the mouth. What else can we talk about? Yeah, I mean, there are lots of things here just starting out, but I reckon grip fix that first. Choose a closer anchor point. There are things with posture and stance, but you can get away with a lot of things as long as you get those two things right. That's the release hand, that's the bow hand, those are contact points. I think to me, there are a lot of issues to this collapsing. Alright, so choose a closer anchor point and expand rather than choose a further one and collapse. And just be careful of the collapse. You can see that movement there. But a lot of it comes down to, if you get this right, you overcome the fear of hitting your arm, you expand outwards, you'll be okay. You can see the creep there. Watch the arrow point. This is what I do as a coach, by the way. So watch the arrow point and see how far it creeps forward. You're doing backwards archery. So what we expect, that wasn't too bad. But we expect the arrow to stay still. See how it moves forward between each shot. That's what you definitely want to avoid. I think this angle doesn't show it as much. Yeah, we can't really see that angle there. But I think that it really shows from this angle how far it moves forward. Okay, so that's where you be careful to creep. So anchor solid, maintain back tension, maintain your expansion. Okay, but I won't go too far into the rest of the details. I think mostly for you, it's gonna be those things. So grip, claw the mouth, and hold the expansion. Okay. Yeah, see you, Gabriel. Hopefully it helps too. Yeah. But you know, you've only been doing it for a few weeks, so that's what I expect someone who hasn't been trained, hasn't learned. We normally teach these things in your first lesson, so if you can't get a lesson at the moment, then that's understandable, and hopefully that helps. Okay, it gives you the right foundation to have good form and good practice later on. So there's a couple of things there. Are we still got more to go? What are we doing with my life? I think Alex, you sent me quite a few. Man, I got some from Craig. What the hell? I miss cutting my form checks because of how many people sending in videos repeatedly. That's not what I want. I think the last one was Tom. I think. Yeah, Tom, if you're here, let me know, alright? Is that a compound? At least it's in the same age. Let's do our last one. Alright. Ah, I remember seeing this, okay. Okay. One thing to watch out, so I say it right away, Tom, your feet. Okay, that is duck feet. That's probably one of the least stable positions for you to work with. Have your feet parallel, have them shoulder width apart. You've got a very, I mean, you'll be blown by the wind really easily. Okay, so yeah, shoulder width apart, feet parallel. That's the first thing. You're almost like a fence post. All right. In terms of the actual shot itself, I feel like your draw's a little short. I mean, I might be seeing things above the camera lens. If you're a compound guy, help me out here. It feels a little too short. I mean, there's just contact on the nose, like just. The peeps are light, I guess. That's why you're doing it this way. But it feels a little short to me. Because it's only if I can't see the string contact on the nose, that's why I can't judge this. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt here. It looks a little short for most compounds. Execution. It's hard to judge these things sometimes, right? The main thing, are you punching the trigger? So let's have a look at the trigger control. Ooh, okay. No, a bit of twitch there. Alright. Remember to maintain back tension, even with the compound. It's deceptive. It's deceptive because the let off holds it for you. Alright, good. Let's go draw. Yeah, that posture isn't gonna do you any favors. Alright, you're basically using just your arms to pull this back. You've got to maintain good posture and stance for the best foundation. And can you see by instability, a bit of wind, and you're blowing around like a windsock. That is... Oh, you can see that pivot there. That's probably the root cause. Alright, Tom. Execution, could be a little more compact. That's right, you're not sky drawing and leading to your shot. Oh. you can just see. This is why your setup. I don't like you doing that. It's not a sky draw, but I'm not sure why you're doing that. It seems to be a waste of movement. That scares people. Don't do that, please. Now you draw, which is safe. But you're drawing, it's all on your shoulder. I'm worried seeing this because you can see a big shoulder movement there. And it's all in the shoulders. This isn't in your back, is it? That looks... The compound is so precise. If you get it set it correctly, you'd be sweet. It looks a bit light there, but it feels like the reason why you're twitching and filming the shots there. Let's expect an older shot. If it feels like you're twitching because you're not holding the weight in your back. Ugh. Alright. I think it's a combination of these things, right? I think your stance is too narrow. You're being blended up by the wind. I also feel that you're not holding your back muscles. Either it might be the drawing's too short. It might be too short, so you're not fully expanded, so therefore you're holding to your shoulders. And because you're in the shoulders, you're not focusing on back tension and expansion. You're focusing on holding the bow at this length, and that's why you're having this muscular twitch. Ooh, I mean the shooting is right. That's release for you. It's too hard to see sometimes, but I think that's the main thing is the posture needs to be a more stable stance. So the stance needs to be more stable. Um, Try and focus on expanding back tension, expand. Don't if you feel the weight in your shoulders, that might be problematic, especially if you have your draw weights. What do you think, people? I think it's our last one too, by the way. It's a long stream tonight. It's been 2 hours, but hopefully it helps a lot of you, and especially now that we're stuck in our isolation. We'll take last questions and last comments. And I think that's the last of it. Oh, that's a lot of videos. Phew. That was like 10 today. Yeah. Let's look and say. It kind of looks like his bow shoulder is backed up to his spine. Yeah, it does, doesn't it, right? Oof. The bow's not hitting the valley, yeah. Hey, Kitsen's here. Yeah, he seems to be leaning back, I agree with that. Yeah, really. I think Australia might be easier a bit too. Era, I normally announce because it depends on how many people send things in. I don't bother doing a live stream for form checks unless there's like 3 or 4 videos now. There's been like 9 or 10 each time now. So if there's a strong demand for it, I normally announce it every 2 weeks. I tried at least once a month, but we're working on a different schedule right now because we are of course in lockdown, so many people can't get go-tos. So hopefully this helps people, especially those starting out. A lot of people here so far have been like first timers, doing it for a month, and shooting Samick Sages. Just the time, because I didn't even think about that, but I just did a Samick Sage video, and here we go, people shooting Samick Sages. What is that, like 2016 again? Yeah, I don't normally schedule, but normally, if I get like 3 or 4 videos, I'll announce the live stream. So that way people send in more. So unless people send in videos, I don't normally announce it. So that's why I don't run into the schedule. I'm pretty bad at scheduling. I'm a teacher. I work too hard as it is for my day job. And we have to work between other live streams too, like Q&As and other things. So as much as the schedule would be good here, but my concern is if I choose a schedule and no one turns up or no one sends a video in, then it's kind of a washout. So I normally wait to a break point. We aim for once a month if there's more demand than once every 2 weeks. At the moment, it's pretty high demand. but we see how we go. Anyway, I reckon we'll end it there. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hope you all learned a lot. Thank you for everyone who sent me videos. It's a learning opportunity for yourselves. We also learn from each other. That's the main thing for these kind of videos. Thanks to everyone in chat for helping out. For those who could make it for the live stream. Jared, especially, thank you again. There's like one video you can watch that can help us out with. Maybe next time we have a bit more for us for you. But that's the nature of what we do, right? There aren't many people doing this online live. I know there's quite a lot of us now doing Olympic style coaching, either live or through live coaching one-on-one. Definitely check out people like Jared on Rogue Archery. They offer some amazing services and great expertise, especially on the mental aspects and the physical aspects too. But I do what I can, especially with so many people shooting different styles. So we had Olympic, we had longbow, we had Asiatic with thumb draw, Asiatic Mediterranean, and like 3 Samic Sages. So we're doing pretty well today, guys. Anyway, take care. Let's put some outro music for funs, and hopefully we enjoy ourselves wherever you are. Stay safe, especially in these current environment conditions, and hopefully we'll see you in the range soon.